Diversity, equity, and inclusion. What's the point? No, really, I'm asking you that because those words have become so commonplace that we just assume that we should do them. And yet, historically, for myself and for organizations especially, I've noticed that we're really bad at accomplishing anything unless we're motivated to accomplish it. So what's the point of pushing for diversity, equity, and inclusion? By the end of this video, I believe you'll have a compelling response of your own to answer that question. And you'll have two extremely powerful words to foster and build and weave a culture of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I'll wrap up with a 5-word, I'm gonna call it a DEI poem that I think you'll really love that will help completely shift the framing on all of this for you. In order to give you these 2 words, I wanna go straight to the source. I'm gonna FaceTime my buddy Meg Bolger, who is the one that originally shared these ideas with me. Oh, there's Steven. Hi, Steven. Hey, guys. Let's see if Meg answers. Meg! Hello! How are you?
I'm good. Okay, do you want it this way or this way?
We're gonna go landscape it, sideways it. Let me make you full screen here. Oh my goodness, beautiful. So, Meg, first of all, I'm gonna let you use the power of your own words to describe, like, what do you do in a sentence or 2? That kind of rhymes.
I run facilitator cards. That is the big one these days. I've also been involved in launching a number of projects, Facilitating XYZ, which Chad was part of, the Safe Zone Project, the Social Justice Toolbox, Unlocking the Magic of Facilitation. I think that's most of them.
So I don't know if you even remember this because I'm FaceTiming you kind of out of the blue, but you shared, we facilitated a retreat together in Asheville, North Carolina a long time ago, and you shared 2 words that for you were really powerful words to help promote diversity, equity, inclusion, that you would, what's that?
I remember them.
Do you remember them? So what were they?
For me.
And can you share a little bit about what that means to you and those words and kind of unpack that?
Yeah, so this was like a really random conversation we were having, and I discovered it as we were talking, which is what I normally do. So we were talking about how a lot of times people will make really broad generalizations, right? I had just come from a hike where the person told me it's super easy, and I was like, okay, I'm not fit right now, so like, are you sure? And they were like, yeah, no problem. It was a problem. And I said that what would have been so helpful is if they had said, it's a really easy hike for me. And for me, the thing that kind of unlocked is just that there are so often that we say things where we'll be like, yeah, it's really inexpensive for me. Or it felt like a really safe space for me, right? And we miss the end of the sentence. And so we make broad generalizations thinking that our experience is what our reference point of ourselves, which all of us use, is a good reference point for other people. And that I think that the world would be a lot, I don't know, we would have more nuance and we would have a more thoughtful conversation if we just kind of finished a lot of those sentences as for me.
Beautiful. And so that was like, those 2 words were a huge gift that you gave to me a long time ago. And my wife and I use them all the time. Like it's changed the way that I actually think. Even if I'm not literally using those words, it changed the way that I interpret and hear people. So I want to try to give you back a gift because as I was mapping out the content for this video and I was planning on saving it for the end of the video. But what I realized was an important part 2 of those words for me is another little poem or rhyme, which is realizing and recognizing and truly believing that for you, it's true, right? So when somebody says, this was really hard, our response is not to be like, no, it's not. Your response is actually just, no, for you, it's true. And if that's true, what does that mean, right? What would it be like to live in a world where for you, that is true, and unpacking that, so.
Yeah, I love that.
Juicy. Okay, so that's really lovely. We're gonna unpack that a little bit further in this video. For now, while we're hanging out with you, because your time is super precious, I have facilitator cards somewhere. Hold on a second, oh my goodness. They're right here. So I have facilitator cards here. Steven, I don't know if you can see that. Oh, look at that, they're so shiny. They're the coolest little deck. They're cards that are made for leaders and facilitators, not for your group. They're really magical at helping people plan and create more engaging experiences. And so I'm wondering, and I'm not nearly as versed in the deck as you are, Meg, but I'm wondering if there's one of those cards that could actually be a really good exercise or idea to make that for me concept come alive. And if you need to take like a pause to think, you can feel free to do that as well.
Okay, so I just looked through the box with your question of which cards might bring that out or allow. What I'm kind of thinking of is like, if you wanted to kind of bring that into the space a little bit more, like what structures could you use in order to do that? So 3 different ones. We're going to go real quick. So the first is a card called, this is the lens. Perfect. The first one is a card called Sharing Withholds. Basically, you tell your group, we're going to share things that we have been withholding from each other. And we're not going to respond to each other. We're just going to go around and everyone's going to say things that they think need to be said, but they've been holding back or haven't been named yet. And maybe you could even just invite the ending for me. That's true. Or what was it? That's true.
For you, it's true. Or but the idea of for me is the concept, right? Like just people speaking and withholding. Like for me, I've been thinking a lot about blank, 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 blank. Yeah.
Yeah. So sharing withholds could be really powerful as a for me and spark a conversation that could be really interesting of like, okay, even though I don't feel that way at all, like I see that for you, that's really true. Maybe a simpler kind of lighter version of that would be thinking and feeling. So this is something where you just want everybody to share one thing you're thinking and one thing you're feeling. And I think that structure is just nice. It keeps it short, but it also allows people to go into 2 different kind of head-heart spaces.
I feel like that question of itself is inclusive. Like one of the reasons what struck you is one of my favorite questions is it allows people to answer with what are they thinking about and what are they feeling. And so to actually ask really clearly for both, I think catches more people than if you say like, what do you think about this?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Last one is I know, I wonder. I think I was introduced to this from Amy Clymer.
Actually, hold that up again. I'm going to hold you close to the camera. I know and I wonder.
I know, I wonder.
Okay, tell me about it.
So this is just like things that you know and things that you wonder. And I wonder if that's a way to get people to talk about like things that are true for me and things they wonder about for the group. So like, I know this is true for me, but I wondered this about people here or about people's experiences or like getting them kind of thinking about themselves, but also thinking about others.
I love it because I think the things we wonder about most often stay silent. And if we were to unpack and share what we're wondering about with others, it would be an invitation into a diverse perspective, right? It would be literally saying like, hey, come chat with me. Cool. Meg Bolger, everybody, so amazing. Thank you so much for being here in a pixelated format.
Yeah, I'm so excited to see how it comes out.
Cheers. Obviously, facilitator cards will be linked in the description, and yeah, okay. I'm gonna hang out with you and continue filming the video. See you, Meg.
Nice meeting you.
Cheers, friend. I was once at a dinner with a woman who was 79 years old and had this really crazy story of illegally escaping Russia. And she told me, and she said lots of things at this dinner, but this in particular, she said in a way that I better get it. I better hear it. I better really soak it in. And she said, diversity is the spice of life. And she said it in this thick, thick accent. And for me, when I ask what's the point of diversity, equity, and inclusion, I can come up with lots of answers. Notice how I said for me when I answer that question, right? Because I think it's important for us to have an individual answer, not the obvious universal answer that like equity is a good thing overall and we need to treat people with equal amounts of respect and give fair chances to everyone on the planet, right? That's like an obvious, maybe not so obvious, but a global or bigger perspective on the whole topic. But I think it's really powerful to come up with your own for me statement around DEI stuff. Right, so for me, I think that the products we use, from the phone we hold to the cars we drive, etc., are all way crappier without diversity, equity, and inclusion. I think without diversity, equity, inclusion, the world is more dull. I think without diversity, equity, inclusion, we have more separation rather than more connection. Start sentence with "for me," and I would invite you to do that individually first. Come up with 1 to 3, see what just shows up, almost as a journaling exercise, not as a public mission statement. Perhaps you choose to actually do this with your team as well as an initiative around DEI, as opposed to just assuming that it's important to everybody and that everybody's on board by default, because if you don't, then you're on the crap list, right? What if we just said, hey, I recognize that this is important to everyone for different reasons. That's part of having diverse perspectives, is we could add "for me" to the end of most of our sentences. And so can you just write 3 to 4 sentences that start with "for me" related to why the project that we're doing or DI or whatever is important for you. Now remember, with that little poem that I shared with Meg, for you it's true. The idea that in order to really embrace different perspectives, we have to recognize, we have to believe people. Hear me very clearly. We have to believe people. We don't have to believe it, right? So you have somebody who's way off the rails in their beliefs, far away from where you are. You don't have to believe those beliefs. But the idea of "for you it's true" means that when you hear what somebody else says, you believe that they believe it. Remember, you don't have to believe it, you just have to believe them. If you don't know where to start, you would love this conversation, literally titled "How to Start a Difficult Conversation at Work." I'm Chad Littlefield. Have a diverse day.